Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're coming to us from. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Steve Oken, and I am the president of CoreALM. And I'm coming to you today with an exciting webinar topic, continuing on in our series of how to improve your SAP change management process. Today, we're going to be talking about SAP test automation, and not just any kind of test automation, but the kind that allows you to achieve a rapid ROI or return on investment. Of course, that's one of the things that a lot of people go into test automation. It gets very hard. They do some work initially, they get some initial traction, but they don't really see that quick return on investment. And so, basically it kind of goes to the shelf and they don't maintain the test cases and things kind of go and fall off and they really never achieve the goals. We're going to talk to you about how you can actually do this as part of a holistic change management process. My guest today will be Virgas George. Virgas has been kind enough to stay up late for us today. He's based out of our India offshore center, and so he's going to be joining me later in today's webinar to go through a live demonstration of Tricentis Tosca. So we work with many different tools. We don't have a particular favorite tool that we work with. It's really the customer's choice as to which tool that you want to use for automated testing. And there's lots of good tools out there. We will talk about some of the benefits of the Tricentis test automation or test suite in general as it relates to SAP. We'll talk about some of the advantages there, but certainly if you have a different tool, completely possible to get the same kind of results of what we're showing here. Before I get into things, I'm going to go over some quick background of who we are as CoreALM. Make sure that you've heard of us and have a little background on our history. Then I'll talk about the kind of problems that we solve, and then I'll go into a little bit more on test automation before we get into our live demonstration. So just to kick things off, a little bit about our origin story. CoreALM's been in business for over 15 years. The company started when our CEO and founder, Labinat Patucci, left his position as the head of the application lifecycle management process at SAP. And the reason why he left is because he surveyed the industry at the time, being the head of the ALM practice at SAP. Many of our team worked at SAP before they came in and joined us here at CoreALM. But really scanned the market and saw that there was a real gap in that specific niche of application lifecycle management tools and services, specifically covering SAP and all of their customers. And so saw the opportunity to create CoreALM to fill that space. And, of course, we had a lot of demand up front because, like I said, there was nobody else that was really in that niche market. But it was about 2018 when really we saw the opportunity to kind of get into the software business. And the reason for that is that many customers that run SAP want to use SAP ALM tools. At the time, it was Solution Manager. Now Cloud ALM is on the scene. But of course, for SAP customers, they don't only run SAP, they run many other applications as well in their environment. And for those other applications, it's very common to use enterprise-wide tools such as Jira or Azure DevOps, usually used on the project side, sometimes for operations and maintenance or DevOps practices as well. And ServiceNow, which tends to be more on the kind of operations side for making sure that changes get approved and incidents get managed, more of an ITSM process. So those applications we saw is very, very common. And there's a lot of overlap between those tools and what you can get from SAP Solution Manager or Cloud ALM. So we wanted to build some integrations to allow our customers to really have a seamless experience. That's how we got into the software game. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that journey and what you can expect from us in those integrations. But that's kind of how we got started. We have served some of SAP's largest customers out there. We've covered all industries, so we can definitely span across all industries as well as all sizes of customers. Many of our customers are tier one, large enterprises, but we work for smaller customers as well. We cover, high security type environments. We've got financial institutions where security is absolutely paramount, very strict restrictions. So we've passed through those, restrictions and vendor qualification hurdles in order to allow, ourselves to be installing software in an on-prem environment or even in the cloud. For those institutions, we've also worked with Ministry of Defense, again, high security, as well as life sciences or, those types of pharmaceutical applications where they have an FTA approval process. So compliance is another one of our strengths, making sure that we can have a robust, repeatable application lifecycle management process that passes through all of those compliance checks and certifications. So we've kind of seen it all. Wide range of industries and customer use cases. And what we've learned is that we see kind of the transformation or change process as a continuous cycle. So should be, ideally it's focused on innovation. And most of the time it should start from some idea or some vision as to what are the process improvements that you have. Obviously, SAP being a process-driven application, your business processes need to be updated from time to time. Maybe you're adding, doing a full business transformation and changing the way that you're going to go about doing business for your customers. Or maybe you're just doing a system upgrade, but you want to maintain your processes. Or maybe you're just doing, maintenance improvements. But in all cases, the goal for any change should be that you're going to make some modification to your business process and you want to make sure that it's going to continue to operate the way that you expect it to, or it's going to achieve the desired outcomes. And so to start off with, there's work that you need to do to plan those process improvements, requirements management and all types of things there. Of course, then once you agree on what it is you're going to do, you have to go through all of the checklist steps, more like kind of project management of those changes. Maybe you're doing customizations and updates and you want to keep track of all of those activities. And then eventually you're going to take those changes, all the code or configurations that you did, and you're going to deploy them to your environments. And then you're going to operate those changes, which hopefully you would have some monitoring or reporting in place that tells you that you were able to achieve the improvements that you were hoping to achieve. And then based on all of that information, then you cycle back to the beginning and you go through the whole process again. So that's why we see it as a continuous improvement cycle. And it's important that you think of it that way because the reason for that is each one of these steps has many process requirements or capabilities in it. And I'm not going to read through all these, but you can see all of the different tasks that you have to do as part of that continuous cycle in order to get a positive end result at the end of the day. Now, that's great, but the challenge is that for each one of those capability areas, there are many different tools that you can use to help you to achieve or track the work that you're doing for those capabilities. And those tools, are often overlapping. So, for instance, SAP customers tend to use SAP tools wherever they can because those tools offer additional capabilities such as transport management, test automation that are built into those tools that are not really part of, let's say, Jira or Azure DevOps. So Cloud ALM is an example where you can have, fairly robust capabilities that span mostly across the application lifecycle management process. There are some gaps in there, but they, a lot of SAP-driven capabilities, but it overlaps quite a bit with other tools that you're using within your enterprise. Like I mentioned, Jira, Azure DevOps, ServiceNow. And so that often leads to confusion as to where work should happen. And if it is happening, sometimes it needs to happen in multiple places. Worst case, you end up with siloed teams where you have some people working in SAP, some people working in Jira or Azure DevOps, and then you actually have trouble communicating. Another case that we see very often is that there's duplication of effort. So somebody does one piece of work inside of SAP, and then a task gets updated or a change request in ServiceNow gets updated manually, and sometimes that information does not flow back and forth correctly, so that it's a manual duplication of effort, and sometimes even inconsistent information is resultant. What we like to do is to say, hey, you can unify this entire process. This is going to become increasingly important as AI can get involved in your processes to actually monitor, to flag risks, and even to optimize those processes and to automate those processes. But it feeds on data. And so if it doesn't have good access to data, then it's not going to be able to do a better job than the humans can. So our goal is to give you one simple unified process that spans across all of these different capability areas, allowing you to use the tools that you choose to use, but using one unification layer so that all the information that gets entered in whatever tool you select is exchanged across the platform, and everybody has access and visibility to the same information at the same time, and everything is good. So this is, the continuous end-to-end process. Today, we're going to be focusing on the testing area. On the picture there, you'll see that Tricentis is an example of one of those test solutions. It's not the only one that we look at. Definitely, Tricentis is very helpful when it comes to test automation, as well as change impact analysis, some of the other testing capabilities that it does offer. So we're going to get into that today in a little bit more detail, but it's important to understand the continuous nature of this process, because with the right tools, you can accelerate this process. We're going to talk about that next. Before we get into that, I'm just going to quickly break it down. We have tools that support you if you're on Solution Manager. So Solution Manager is going out of mainstream support in 2027, and then eventually it'll be fully retired in 2030. But there's still many applications that are in very broad use today. Charm and Focus Build, very common use case for many customers still. And we do have connectors that are very robust that allow you to connect Focus Build, Charm with Jira, Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow. Cloud ALM is kind of new on the scene. It doesn't completely replace all of the capabilities of Charm, but it does have some capabilities a little bit easier to use from a user interface perspective. It is cloud-based. It does work with RISE. It comes free as part of RISE. And so many people are starting to make the shift towards Cloud ALM. As Cloud ALM expands their ability to integrate, we provide integrations with Jira, Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow today, and we're continuing to keep up with SAP on those integrations as they release additional capabilities. And so that is coming as a kind of long-term replacement of Solution Manager, focused on kind of more of a cloud-based, less restrictive use case. But for those people that want the full capabilities of what was in Charm, as an example, but they're not seeing that capability replicated on the Cloud ALM side, we also have the ability to do direct integration with transport management from Jira, Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow. So that is basically taking our additional capabilities that basically mirror the same robust functionality that you would expect from Charm. All of the features of Charm, like retrofit and all of the cross-reference checks, error checks that you can have, are built in to Jira, Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow, and that's an application that we can sell for you. And that way, you only have one application that you interact with, and it can handle all of the transport management directly without the need for Solution Manager. It breaks your dependency on that, and it breaks your dependency on Cloud ALM. Not to say that you shouldn't use Cloud ALM. It's a great tool, so you can use it as well. They work together, but it's not required. So those are the three kind of product areas that we focus on. Let's talk a little bit about the workflow, typical change workflow, and we'll talk a little bit about how test automation fits into this cycle as well. So at the top, you see an enterprise change workflow that this is kind of similar to what you would see in Charm or in ServiceNow, where it goes from created to development to tested and so on, and then all the way through into until it gets imported into production. So our goal is to help our customers shift left any of the checking that can be done and automate any manual activities that happen as you transition from each of those states to the next one. And by shifting left, we can improve the quality of your releases. We can also accelerate the innovation cycle. So that picture I showed at the beginning as to kind of like what are the sequence of steps, we can make that happen faster through these automations. As an example, when it's time to have the developers code that has been updated, tested in QA, we can, before it's even time to do the testing, we can automatically run code quality analysis checks or vulnerability checks to ensure that we're not releasing something that puts our security or our environment at risk. And we can also make sure that the code adheres to our corporate standards. Lots of different tools that can be used here. Of course, you can use ADC from SAP, but if you have a different tool, then that can be integrated as well. GitHub repository integration, so you can have your code checked out to external repositories as needed. And if you're doing parallel track development, you can make sure that your objects are maintained in sync across your landscapes using cross system object locking. You can also automate your validations that you would normally do through Charm, that making sure that you're releasing all the transports in order, that you're never downgrading, that you're not releasing code that's dependent on code that hasn't been, imported yet to production. All of those types of checks. We can also automate builds for external applications. And this is really where the test automation portion fits in as well. So when something's successfully tested in QA, that's great. Now we know that this is kind of unit tested as a change, but how are you going to do all of your regression testing? Well, first thing is, when we know that transport is ready to go, we can use live compare from Tricentis to analyze the impacts of those transports in your environment. And then we can tell you, based on your existing use of those transactions, which business functions are most at risk based on those changes. And so that's what the live compare application is very good at. It does change impact analysis. It sees, hey, for these changes, these are the functions that are most at risk. These are the ones that are being used by our users in production. And so test these first. And these other functions over here, don't waste time testing that, because there's no impact for these changes that you're doing. So that really helps you. If you're doing manual testing, it helps you focus your testing. But if you're doing automated testing, then it can say, okay, these are the test cases you need to run. It will actually go through your test repository. It'll identify those test cases. It'll say, you need to run these 6 test cases, and it can automatically queue up that job, execute those tests in the background, so that by the time you get to your CAB meeting, you have an analysis of saying, these are the transports, these are the areas that are at risk, these are the tests that were scheduled, these are the results of those tests. And before anything happens, you can already be ready with that information. And that massively accelerates the time frame. And this is what we're seeing from our customers that have gone down this path. Not everybody implements all of those steps, but if you do, the results are really, really powerful. I'm not going to go through all these in gory detail, but we can, improve the flow of the transports into production as well. Especially, a lot of people are using BTP these days, or side-by-side extensions. Obviously, with clean core initiatives, everybody wants to minimize the changes to their core. And so what that means is you have to put more code in external side-by-side platforms such as BTP, where when you make a change to SAP, now you're going to have a corresponding change in BTP. Maybe it's CPI or Datasphere, or it could be just code that's running like Node.js code that's running in some external application or in the BTP environment. And we can help you to synchronize those changes. So when you make a change request, let's say you're using ServiceNow, you can put those BTP changes together with your SAP changes. So when you move that change into production, you can move that all in one shot. So these are some automations that really have helped almost turn SAP into a DevOps type landscape and accelerate the behaviors. So hopefully that's a bit of an overview for you on what we do. We're going to get into some details now on test automation, which is, I know, why you're here. But I would just let you know that we have some additional information that is available for you. There's some barcodes on the screen right now, which you can scan to get more information. The top left corner, this is the link to our weekly newsletter. So we write a weekly newsletter that basically covers a variety of topics. This week, we just posted an update on more depth that we're going to get into today on test automation and the benefits of test automation. So if you scan that, that'll take you directly to LinkedIn. From there, you can subscribe to the feed, and then you'll get notified every time there's a new post once a week. And we also post those to our website if you're looking there as well. In the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see the resources page. That is our webinar list. And so you can see the upcoming webinars that we have. You can also go back to any of the previous webinars, the topics that we have run in the past, and you can fill out a form if you wish to receive recordings from past webinars as well. So it's a great research vehicle where you can kind of get yourself up to speed and learn more about the different things that you can do to improve your change process. On the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see the Talk to an Expert button. This allows you to request more of a customized, tailored demonstration. Usually people that come through this are like, okay, I've done the research, I've looked at your videos, and I understand what it is that I need to do, but I have some specific questions and I'm not sure exactly how this will apply to me. They go to, you can get there from the link on the bottom right corner, or you can go to our website, CoreALM.com, and in the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a Talk to an Expert button. Just click on that button and it'll pop up a form, fill out that form, and that's how we start many conversations with our customers. Usually we'll start with discover a little bit more about what they need, that we can give them a tailored demonstration. Many people go into more of a deeper proof of concept to make sure they fully have their head wrapped around how this will work, and then go forward with implementation if there is something like that. But you're welcome to just reach out and ask us a question. We're always happy to receive those kinds of inquiries. Okay, so today we're going to talk more in depth on test automation with Tricentis Tosca, so I'm going to jump in. Why are we focusing on Tricentis? I'll start with that. And we do work with other test engines as well, so we are not biased in any particular way. The main reason why we see Tricentis very often is because it's really the solution that's recommended by SAP. So SAP, when they decided which test platform did they want to embed as part of their solution, they went off and they did a lot of research. They looked at all the available tools, and Tricentis was successful in its own right and had a lot of integrations already into SAP. And for many reasons, they decided to select Tricentis as the official testing solution for SAP. They don't, there's other applications out there they, fully acknowledge, but Tricentis is the official testing solution for SAP, and that's just really because it has a lot of integrations, very strong capability, so that's one of the reasons why we see it a lot. What makes it unique? There's a few things that I think are really the accelerators of the Tricentis Tosca approach. So especially if you're looking at Tosca, the integration with Live Compare as part of the Tricentis solution is very, very strong. That allows you to, like I said, zero in on what are the areas that need to be tested based on your changes. So you're not just randomly wasting time testing changes that have no benefit or aren't involved in changes that you are making. So that change impact analysis, which is, kind of what they call this risk-based testing. So you're only testing according to the risks that you have from the changes that you have. They can do server virtualization. This allows you to really integrate into an end-to-end process like we've talked about. That can be done in the background, so you can allocate almost like background agents that will run those tasks in the background. You can have it run your full test suite every day. So every day you'll be flagged with any issues or changes that were made from the previous day. So you catch them early, you waste less time analyzing these kinds of impacts late in the cycle. They have a very model-based test method, which we're going to go through as part of the demonstration today. I'll talk about that a little bit more. So it's very efficient in terms of maintaining your test cases going forward. I've seen many times where people spend a lot of time and money and effort building up test cases, but then of course your application is constantly changing. If you have to constantly rebuild everything, then it's very challenging. So the model-based approach that Tosca uses is very conducive to ongoing maintenance and sustainable testing. They also have mobile test environments, which allow you to test for mobile devices. This is very effective if you have a mobile application as part of what you offer to customers. You can test those on the edge for specific devices that you may not even have physical versions of those devices, but they have server farms of all of those devices. So can you expect after implementing all of these solutions from a test automation perspective? I'll give you a case study. This is from a client that we work very closely with as they were going into their initial test automation, and they have achieved some phenomenal results. There's a lot of words on this page. I'm just going to kind of skim through it quickly. But basically, the first thing is you can get comprehensive coverage for all of your test functions across all of your divisions, because this was a global organization. In this case, they had many different operations in different countries. Those had very specific requirements, and so they can actually validate for each of those divisions, even the special approach that is required for each of those countries in order to maintain compliance. They can also execute tests from end to end. So you don't have to just do SAP testing. You can do SAP testing that can be combined with integrations across your other applications, Salesforce, Manhattan, or your warehouse management solution, whatever tools you have in place, even Ariba, which is a web-based SAP application. All of those things can be brought into one end-to-end application because Tosca can cover the whole thing. It's very modular. That allows for efficient maintenance of those tests over time so that they don't sort of decay and then fall away. And you can use the test results for change management and audit purposes to show that you did your due diligence before you release changes into production. Of course, with Live Compare, you can get those kind of high-risk areas being flagged and making sure that you're covering off your risk. So you're not just testing for the sake of testing, but you're actually lowering your risk profile for the least effort possible. So those are the results that you can expect. Some actual numbers to it. What are their goals that they achieved? These are all very, very impressive results. And I don't think there was anything special about what we did there. This can be done, by you, and these are realistic goals to achieve. We got to an 80% functional coverage within the first 12 months. We were also able to have a very early milestone of all of their end-to-end functional test cases were automated within 3 months. They had about 10 different scenarios. Those scenarios were very, very long, a lot of different steps to them. And we got through all of the implementation of all of those tests within 3 months. So right away, instead of doing manual regression testing within 3 months, they were running automated testing. The coverage, in 5 months, we expanded to cover all of the variations for all of their divisions, different countries around the world, same scope in terms of those regression test cases, but specialized across all those divisions. So the biggest thing is they did their 2025 upgrade preparation. They had these tests ready to go. The entire cost of implementing Live Compare, as well as all of their test automations, was paid for by the reduction in effort that they achieved through the, for the upgrade, just based on finding those test areas or those issues much faster. So that paid for the whole bill of, the Live Compare license, the Tosca license, and the services to do the test automation. So it's a phenomenal result. That's rapid ROI if I've ever seen it. Just to give you some like actual metrics, they were documenting test cases for us just to make like a Word doc of the steps in a test case. Used to take them 5 days per test case to do it all, to take screenshots, paste it all into a Word document. Those were decent quality, but they weren't perfect. They missed a lot of the steps. Wasn't very clear for somebody executing exactly what it is that you needed to do. Now they don't have to do any documentation whatsoever. They do a screen share. We captured that information. Then we do the implementation. The full implementation of the automated test case takes less time than it used to take for them just to document the test case in the first place. So 3 days to implement the automated test case versus 5 days to document the test scenario. So that's a pretty good improvement right there. And then the screenshots and all of those can be pulled from the test case itself, so you don't have to write the document. So major improvements on that side. Then when it comes to running those test cases, it used to take an elapsed time of 3 hours to run the test case. And we know that because we got all of the cross-functional people involved in the test to get onto a call. And it took 3 hours to go from top to bottom for one of those test cases. But in reality, it usually took over 3 days to get those test cases run because it had to be coordinated across many different people. All of those handoffs took a long time. So expecting to get a whole bunch of test cases, 15 test cases done in 1 week was not realistic. It never happened. And now when we run those test cases, each test case itself can be executed in about 6 to 8 minutes. Generally once the system is up and running, it can chug through the entire end-to-end test in about 6 minutes. So from 3 hours or 3 days down to 6 minutes, massive improvement. That's per test case. And that's just at the beginning in terms of how long it takes to build the test cases because it said 3 days to build a test case. But once you have all of your reusable modules, then it goes even faster than that. You can get test cases built, and we're going to show you how to build one right away today. And that's the next step. So today's demo, we're going to do an automated test for a standard workflow in SAP. We're going to create a PO, then we're going to do an inbound delivery, a goods receipt, and we're going to post an invoice. These are 4 separate test cases. Each one of them has its own modules. We're passing data between those. So it's kind of like a sort of a test scenario, and you're going to see how those end-to-end tests can run. So with that, I'm going to introduce my guest for today. That is Virgus George. Virgus, welcome. And we are excited to see how we can do a demonstration today. We're going to cover the creation of a test module, test cases, and execution runs. We're going to see how you don't have to write code for testing in Tosca. You can actually scan your application. And scanning means that you don't have to write code. It's basically going to absorb all of the information that's in those screens, and you should be able to run from there. So Virgus, welcome. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to give you the right to share the screen on your own, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
I can see your screen and I can hear you well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good morning, good evening all. So here you can see my screen. This is the Tosca application. So here we can see a couple of tabs are there. I will start with the test case tab. So this is where we create the test cases, the multiple test cases which we create here. And the modules are the one which we create the building blocks for the test cases. So you can see here, I will show you how to create the modules. Once the modules are created, we will build the test cases using the modules, build the test steps using the modules. And once the test cases are created and it is successfully executed, we will be moving to the execution list where you will be executing the test cases in the execution list. So I will start with the module part. So how to record a module. So here is the module tab where you can see multiple folders are there. There is a standard module that is provided by the SAP and the custom module which we create. So I'm going to open the recorder where we can record the modules from the application. So I'm going to connect with the XScan. The recorder is called the XScan, and here we can you can see the XScan here, and you can scan the respective application. So all the screens opened will be listed here. So you will be able to see this is my screen, the create purchase order screen. So I am going to select this one, and Tosca is going to scan the application. So you need to select what are the fields. So in this case, for creating the purchase order, first I have to select the order type. So I'm selecting the order type here. So you can put the name. You can see the same is saved here. The order type is saved here. I will show you more. So then then next step is to add the organization data part. So here these are the informations to enter. I'm going to scan the purchase or organization information. So here you can see I already scanned. And one more point I want to add here. So after your scan, you can see here the selected item is unique. So that means you have selected the unique item. So if there are same value with multiple the parameters with the same, if you scan and it is not unique, it will show us it is not unique. So you need to identify with the respective parameters. So in this case, it automatically selected. It is showing as unique. So you can save it easily. So you can see here, these are the two I have created, the two modules I have created. So now I am going to create a test case. So I'm in the test case tab and I'm going to create a new test case here. So you can see here, create a new test case option is there. So I'm going to add the test case name. Login. So usually we will create with the preconditions, post process, and the post condition. Usually all the test cases having these three informations are there. So the precondition. And if any post conditions are available. So in this case, the precondition, I already created the login part. So I'm going to copy this login part here. Okay, and the process part. So these are the two modules which we have recently created. So I'm going to add the modules which I created now to the test case. So you can drag and drop from here to here. So this is the one. First step is to click on the order type. So I'm going to select. So it's already there. All the data from the order type option, it is available here. So I'm going to select the standard purchase order. So you can see here all these informations from the standard purchase order drop down all automatically captured in the module. So you don't need to type or anything. It is automatically there. Then the second option is enter organizational information. So in this case, the purchase organization, I'm going to add as 1701, purchase group 100, and the company code is 1700. once the steps are added, you can test it. So for example, I want to test whether this data, this whatever I selected is going correctly or not. So I can run it in the scratch code. So you can see the data automatically inserted into the application, the same data 1701, 100, 1700. So the same data is automatically inserted here. So you can see that. So this for the time constraint, I have already created the test case here. So I just want to show you the test case details here. In this case, the precondition, first I'm opening the URL, then I'm passing my username and password. And then the header information is there, like the order type, or the organization. I'm navigating the organization data tab, and then I'm entering the organization data information, then the supplier informations, then I'm entering the item detail informations. All these informations I'm already entered here. So I'm saving the purchase order number. So I will do it execution now, and you will be able to see that. Just started the execution. It is now selected the order type and expanded the header information. Now it is entering the organization data, and entering next is enable to enter the supplier information.
So what you're seeing on your screen is actually the test case running in your local environment, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is my local environment.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, you can also have this running in the background so that it's not using up your screen or your resource using distributed execution or DEX. And I think we've done this for customers as well. Correct, Fergus?
Yes, correct. So now entering the item information are there. So once the item information is completed, I'm checking the purchase order process. So it is successfully checked. The data is saved. Sorry, the purchase order is saved successfully, and now it is capturing the purchase order number. So the information you can see in the graphic, we can see that the purchase order number is automatically captured here. So you can see the 450-126-65634. 450-126-65634. Then the continuation is there. So that is creating the inbound delivery. So where we are passing, so we are buffering the purchase order number here. So once the purchase order number is buffered, so you can pass the purchase order number to the next test case. So in this case, I am passing the purchase order number here. And then finally,
perfect. So the nice thing about all this is you're running end-to-end tests, and on each test creates the data that you need for the next test. So that's how you can go really fast. In these test cases, you don't need to create a bunch of data in advance. The data is getting created by the test cases themselves, correct?
Yes, correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, and once the inbound delivery is created, then I'm going to create the goods receipt. Here also I am passing the purchase order number here, and I'm capturing the goods receipt number also there, and here also the inbound delivery number also I'm capturing, and finally continuing with the invoice. There also we are passing the invoice number, the purchase order number we are passing, and I'm capturing the invoice number here. So I have created, so once the test cases are completed successfully, you can change the status of the test case to work state to complete status. And then once it is in the complete status, you can create the execution list. So for example, in this case, I have already created execution, but I'm going to create another execution list here. So this is how you can create the execution list. The execution list is created. Once the execution list is created, we can add the test cases which we created so far, the completed test case, into the execution list. So same as drag and drop, you can drag and drop it there. Okay, and then you can execute it. So I'm going to execute the end-to-end scenario now. It won't take. It will be less than 2.5 minutes time. So Steve, I'm going to execute this. So meantime, can I go ahead and execute the Steve?
Yeah, you can go ahead, but maybe in the meantime, while it's running, you can just open up some of the reports which show you the kinds of results you can get. And I think there's 2 different reports level of detail, right?
Correct. Yeah. Let it complete. Steve, I think.
So this will run in the background, and you can see.
No,
and
we are running in the front end, not
in the front. I just meant it's going ahead and executing. So just so people know, you'll see some delays on the screen. Those are actually programmed into the test case. The reason for that is sometimes SAP may not respond immediately. So I think Virgus and the team would insert delays into the test case to make sure that there's always time for SAP to respond. So it could theoretically run faster if you're getting fast response times on your SAP screens. Yeah, that's how you can kind of guarantee consistent results.
We can add 2 types of delays. One is we can add manually delayed time, and also there is an option called wait on Tosca is providing, which will wait for a particular action or a message. Then it will go for the next step.
Perfect. So you can even optimize it further. Okay, so good. So we'll let this continue to run. Maybe just so we're not waiting on that, you can show the reports, and I think you probably have a previous version of the report that you can share.
Yeah, this is done. Second one is completed. Now it's going to the so creating the good circuit using the same purchase order number. And now it is executing the fourth test case. We are creating the invoice. Using the same purchase order number here.
And this is the last step in the process, just doing the invoicing.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like it's.
There are a couple of validations are there, that is the reason little time. So the invoicing is completed, and now the last step is the sign out, the cost notation.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. So after running all of this, you get a lot of data.
Yes.
You can go back and maybe you can walk us through what those reports look like.
So there are a couple of reports are there. One is action log report. So this is the report one, where you can see the summary of the execution, where how many test cases are there, how many are pass, fail, and all. Next one is a detailed report. Where you can see the detailed information of each test case which we executed. So, for example, the values which we passed. So here you can see the particular organization information, the supplier information, all those informations, the material detail. This is a detailed one for each.
So here you can see, and you, as you're writing those test cases, you can add additional notes to these output files if you want, but it doesn't just give you the pass failed. If there's a successful test case, you can see each of the steps, what was the data that was created as part of that step, and then if there's a failure, you can right away see where the error was, which step that failed, and that'll help you go back and figure out what do you need to do to correct for this failure.
Yeah. And
okay, thank you.
And also we have a detailed screenshots.
That's great. So as I mentioned, when you're talking about documentation, you can automatically see what are the screens that were captured as part of this test case. You can actually see capture of those screens. So pretty comprehensive reporting. This helps with your audit trails. If you're doing a big project and you want to make sure that you're doing all of your testing in advance. I'm going to open it up to questions to see if anybody has a specific question. Feel free to jump in or type your question into the question and answer section, or you can put it into the chat. I do have one question that is queued up. It talks about kind of reuse. We talked about those modules. So let's say I have a test case and I want to use those modules to capture data, as you mentioned, but I want to be able to run the same test case multiple times with different data. Is that possible, Virgas? How would I accomplish that?
Yeah. So once the module is created, once the test cases are created, you can easily use the module any number of times. For example, in this case, I have created data for the company code 1. You can reuse the same module for creating the purchase order for company code 2, company code 3, like that. You just need to put the right value in the test case. That's all. You don't need to record the module again and again for each company code.
And I think it is possible. You showed how you could sort of capture those fields on screen and then associate data with those fields. I think it is possible also to create a data sheet where you actually run in sequence according to different data sets, so that you don't have to create test cases for each one. You just create one test execution run with multiple different data sets, and it does run those in sequence. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. You just in what order you need to execute, you just need to put it in the same order in the execution list. It will take it one by one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the next question talks about if I have a change. So if I have a change in one of my screens, what do I have to do to update that? Let's say I have a whole bunch of test cases that use that screen. How can I make sure that that change gets updated across my test cases?
There are two ways. One is you can rescan the module, and you can incorporate the new changes into the same module. Once you rescan it, the same changes will be automatically reflected into the test cases where you use those same modules. If it is a major change, then you can go and record a new module and add only that particular module to the test case. Remaining things, remaining steps will continue same.
Perfect. So if you update and refresh that module, then you said all test cases that are using that module automatically get updated. I don't have to go back.
Correct.
So that's a major time savings. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, and great work on this use case that we have. This case study is very successful, as I said. They were able to justify their entire cost of the upgrade based on the time they saved on testing, and even the license fees for the software. Thank you very much, Fergus, for your time today. Great work and great demonstration. Thank you all for joining. If you are joining us live, thanks for coming in today. If you have additional questions that you'd like to ask, please don't hesitate to reach out. Go to CoreALM, hit the Talk to an Expert button in the top right corner of our screen. You can reach out, or you can send an email to info@corealm.com, and we will be happy to get in touch with you. If you're watching the recording, thanks for getting all the way to the end, and we hope to see you at the next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.